Hey, Gov Con Giants family, happy Monday. Happy Monday to all. I do realize that we did not set this up earlier as a live stream. It wasn't pre-scheduled. I did decide at the last moment to jump in and do this live stream. So I'll give you guys a couple moments to come on board, to come on to the chat, and we can start having a conversation about last week's pipeline attacks and what happened a few weeks ago with regard to the pipeline attacks, how the government could have potentially prevented that issue from happening, and also what can we learn from that as future GovCon giants in this world out here making our mark. So join me all. We're going to wait for everyone to come on board in this upcoming discussion about the pipeline attack and what happened to it. So many of us out there may have seen, may have heard, may be aware about the pipeline attacks that happened. So again, we're going to discuss all of that in today's upcoming show. Excited to have you guys here with me today. So where's all my people? Let me know who's in the room. Let me know who's out there. And we get a chance to talk about this. So very exciting stuff. It really is, because the government and the way in which they do business and the way they operate, the government was given some sort of advance notice that this could potentially happen. But because the government doesn't move as quickly as you and I, then guess what? They don't necessarily operate and find out, do the necessary precautions, take the necessary steps because of budget constraints, because of internal politics, because of whatever the reasons may be. So let's find out how can we use that to take advantage of that ourselves. So again, we'll wait for some people to get on today. Andrew, what's going on? How are you today? So thanks for joining us, Andrew. Yeah, I just kind of like pulled this out last minute and said, listen, let's talk about it. Let's have some conversations. By the way, I heard you are coordinating with some people on the Slack channels, and I heard your breakout session was pretty good. So were you on the last breakout session, Andrew, with everybody in the Slack channel for the IT group? If you are just joining us, welcome, 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 welcome. Let us know your name, let us know where you're from, and the industry that you're in. Mark Daly. Wow. Feels like forever. Mark, welcome back. All right. Good stuff, Andrew. Yes. I figured, Andrew, you might actually enjoy this. Anyone who is in, okay, great. I'm glad you had a good time in the breakout session. I had some positive feedback this morning for some people, and they said it went really well. It was really positive, and folks learned a lot, so that's good. Okay. Hey, by the way, let us know who's in the room. I want to see who's out there. Yes, and offline follow-ups, good stuff. Let us know your industry. Let us know what industry you're in. Also, which city you're from. So definitely reach out to us today. And we're going to give people a couple more minutes to join us, because since I did not pre-schedule this, I want to give folks a little bit of time to come on board. There you go. There's some people telling us who they are, where they're at. Cybersecurity, folks. It's wonderful stuff. Giant Hawaiian, welcome. The Vero Protege. Stefan, Texas, brand new learning about contracting, and subscribe for information to learn more. Good stuff. Mark, when are you going to come out of hiding? Listen, we are doing some great stuff in the IT space, Mark, so can't wait to hear you. Like I said, Andrew's on the Slack group, Mark, so you've got to get back involved, man. You got to get back involved, Mark. You've been slacking. Again, guys, hey, listen, let us know who's here in the room. Treat this as your event. One of the things that I always say this to folks out there, all right? When we're looking at opportunities to learn, to grow, when we're looking at, this is something I taught in my boot camp recently, okay, lunch and learns, places, basis, event. You have to be part of event. It's got to be part of the GovCon community. If you really want this bad enough, you have to be a part of the community. You have to attend the functions. You've got to get out there and talk to people. You've got to meet folks, because let me tell you, I just had the pleasure today of actually interviewing, listening to the interview that Maria did with one of our students, Nicole Sharp. And Nicole, and I'll tell you this, I'm going to come back to the camera. Nicole, actually, you're going to see that interview coming up in a few weeks that Maria did with one of our GovCon EDU students, Nicole Sharp. And Nicole literally said she took 6 months. She quit her job, and she took 6 months. She didn't even talk to friends or anyone, and just really buckled down and studied this stuff, learn her craft, learn her business, learn about government contracting. So for those of you out here who feel like you can come and go, watch it, momentarily spurts, it really, this is a huge undertaking. And so you got to be committed to this. You've got to be committed. You got to stay the course. And like Nikki and Bradshaw, who just jumped on, and I talked about, stay interested, because it is a journey. It's a journey. By the way, give us a thumbs up. We're going to talk about some good stuff today. I literally pulled a rabbit out my hat. So definitely give us a thumbs up on that. And we've got about 20 or so people on here. We'll wait till all the other folks come on later on. Again, if you're just joining us, let us know your industry, the space, and the city that you're from. So everyone remembers the pipeline attacks from a few weeks ago. And this article came up, right? And I follow Nextgov. By the way, if you're looking for a place to follow that has data, articles on government contracting, obviously Gov Con Giants is number one. But after Gov Con Giants, the Nextgov.com is a really good resource. I read it every day. I know, sadly enough, but I do read it every day. And what I like about it is because they do have, they're a big, large organization. They do have some folks that reach out and can talk to government people from the White House. And so they're in that beltway, and I'm able to get all this information. So why is this important, right? And why are we discussing the pipeline attack? Well, I'll tell you why. Because the pipeline attack, as per this article, it says here that they put together an interagency team that includes the Department of Energy, right? Department of Homeland Security, Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, FBI, DOT, right? Department of Treasury. And so, again, these are all government agencies that we discuss, we talk about each and every week on the show here. These are people that we interview. These are our folks that we're interviewing on our podcast, work and support these agencies. So when you see things like this, you have to think about, okay, Andrew, Mark, people who are in the IT space, where's the opportunity for the guy or girl like myself? All right. And so how do you find that opportunity? What should you be looking for exactly, right? And that's what we're talking about today's upcoming live session. So one of the things that we have, and if you go back to one of our old shows, let's just pull this up on the screen, right? And we talk about opportunities and where to find them. While we're looking at where are our opportunities for growth, where are our opportunities and by the way, on there where it says beta.sam, it's not beta.sam, it's for sources. So it's RFI, sources sought. It's not beta.sam looking for contracts. But when we go back to an old video that I have, and I'm pulling it up on the screen right now, when we go back to this older video that I have with Nicole Tripoli here, I'm trying to find it. When we go back to one of my older videos with Nicole Tripoli, we'll find where she discussed GAO. And on the GAO, which, does anyone know what GAO is, by the way? Anybody know what GAO? Not Nikki, you can't answer this question. Who knows GAO out here? Anybody know what GAO stands for? And what's their role? Anybody know GAO? Drop it in the chat if you know GAO. This is super important, folks. GAO. All right, so GAO stands for the Government Accountability Office. Why is that important? When we go back to the article, and they mention here that in May 2019, the Government Accountability Office issued a scathing report of TSA's performance, right? Amongst other things, there were 6 staff assigned to area. When they talk about GAO, this is the Government Accountability Office, and this is the article that was issued at that time that talked about infrastructure protection. And it mentioned here that there were recommendations, right? How TSA manages pipeline securities. We previously made 10 recommendations, including they established a better process for updating its guidelines, hazardous liquid and natural gas pipelines in the United States. GAO, the Government Accountability Office, for those of you who don't know, now in this report, the Government Accountability Office, essentially what they do is they review federal agencies and issues that they need to correct, they need to fix, areas where they are weak, areas where there's vulnerabilities. And so what happens, my podcast guest, let's go in, right? They've mentioned here that the Government Accountability Office issued this report, and there's been a commission, bipartisan effort within the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, and Congress to turn responsibility for pipeline cybersecurity over to the Department of Energy. Then it goes into the attack on this pipeline, 5,000 miles attributed by the FBI to a criminal ransomware, and the perpetrators. Now, we're not going to get into that specific details because for me, the 60,000 level view of this goes back to this Government Accountability Office. And this is an area where Nicole, when she was on my podcast, we discussed opportunities for small businesses, right? When you're talking about a look ahead and forward thinking, this is an area where so many of us, we tend to forget, or not even forget, maybe we're not aware of this, but this is an area where we can offer solutions. So people oftentimes want to come in and you say, for example, like Andrew and Mark, maybe you've devised some sort of solution, right? But you're like, okay, I have this new technology, I've got this solution, who do I present it to? Well, if you go here to the GAO, and the pipeline was a great example, the General Accountability Office made recommendations for how to potentially prevent some of these things from happening, and it listed their vulnerabilities. At that time, right, in 2019, if you had a solution for this particular problem, then you could have technically approached the organization at hand with your solution on this. And again, it doesn't have to necessarily be a solution from the standpoint of a software or a hardware solution. It could be a simple solution as a better way of tracking the information, a better way of collecting the data, a way of looking at the information and offering recommendations or triggering alerts. So not all the solutions have to be technical in nature. So we go back and we look at, I'm going to pull up just the overview of the Government Accountability Office. If we look at reports here, this is a great way if you have an agency that you want to work with, if you have an agency that you're thinking about working with, if you go in and you look here, and again, this is all public information, public data, go.gov, reports and testimonies. All of this information is here. This is something that I read about today. All right, look at this. DoD faces challenges and opportunities with acquiring space systems in a changing environment. People, what we're forgetting is that the government is a public entity paid by taxpayers' dollars, and the information on whether they do good stuff or bad stuff is available. And what I'm here to do, my job, I feel, my responsibility is to help you to determine what information you need, where to get it from, and how to use it. And so that's what we're doing today, is saying we out here are solution providers. We're small business contractors. I don't know who's in what industry, right? You're posting it in the chat. We're going to jump back over that to a minute. But without knowing each and every one of you individually, I don't know what solutions you have. I don't know what connections you have. I don't know who you know, who you don't know. But the GAO, General Accountability Office, is another source, another place to explore when you've basically said, hey, look, I have this new invention. And by the way, I get this all the time. So this is not like a one-off thing. I get this all the time from folks. I've got this new, whatever. I got a patent pending, right? How do I sell it to the government? Well, does the government need it? Well, I don't know if the government needs it. Well, how do I find out if the government needs it? This is one way to find out. And by the way, this whole website is searchable. So you can come on and search. Let me go back over to the chat and take some questions while we continue having this conversation out here with folks. Browse around. And for folks out here, by the way, make sure to give us a thumbs up. If you like the content, you like what we're talking about, always looking for new and innovative ways to inform folks out there. Let's see who we have in the room. O'Connor's work. Mark Higgins has just joined 1.0. Good job, Mark. Glad to have you on board. Looking forward to talking with you on your first Tuesday call. Bobby Smith, IT software, Huntsville, California. Government Accountability Office, General Accounting Office, Government Watchdog. There you go. GAO establishes a price list. I like that. That's GSA, but they don't even establish it. It comes to 10 Chief. What's up, brother? All right, good stuff. So is everyone following? So again, when we come on here, let's go in. This is one talks about Space Force. And let me tell you, the reports are really good. Look at this. The reports are really thorough in nature. Why did GAO do the study? I mean, it gives you background information for you to take and have intelligence, because we need market intelligence. When we're talking to agencies, when we're talking to small business specialists, when we're talking to program managers, when we're talking to decision makers, this is all the goodies that you want to take. When people say, Eric, I'm going to have my capabilities briefing. I don't know what I should be taking in the meetings. I don't know, how do I set up a meeting with a government official, right? Forecast lists, these types of reports. This is how you get to the highest levels of people to get them to respond back to you. This is how you get people to take your calls. This is how you get people to respond back to your emails. Having this type of data, having this information available at hand is going to allow you to, when you're speaking to someone at that agency, at that office, say, hey, I have a solution, right? Nikki and I were talking today is that we have to look at ourselves as problem solvers. The government has all of these problems, all these issues, and we are here to solve the problems. Remember, if you go back to the videos that what Judy said, and the same thing that Randy's doing, when you're reaching out to your federal human, right, you want to think of yourself as, hey, what needs do you have that we can help with? What are some of the areas where people are not servicing you? What are some of the things in which the things on your plate that you need to get off your desk that maybe we can help you with? Come in thinking about how you can solve their needs. Someone in the government, in DOD, saw this report, and it's basically like they got a big fat F, right? So they're now, imagine, okay, let's turn this around, because so many of us, we are looking at it because, again, we're out of inexperience. We're looking at this and we're saying, all right, Eric, look, I hear you, I get you, but yeah, I'm a problem solver for the government. Yeah, I solve their needs, but I'm this little guy. I'm nobody. Why would the government care about me, right? Why would the government even talk to me? You know, I don't have anything. I don't have anything that they want, or I can't really help them. Well, now that's what you're saying to yourself, right? That's that negative thought transmissions. What I'm saying, that from my experiences, is this: once you start working for the government, and when I say working for the government, once you get to the point where you have the government as a client, and now the government is your client, what's going to happen is that they're going to call you, they're going to email you for everything. And why is that? Why is the government going to call you and email you for everything? Because now the government looks at you as providing a solution provider and someone that they trust and someone they know can get things done. Well, that only happens because they have needs. If they didn't have needs, they wouldn't call you. They wouldn't call any of us. So now let's put ourselves in the shoes of the government buyer, right? Let's put ourselves in the shoes of this guy or girl who, this came out, published May 24th, right? Which is a few days ago. I think that was yesterday. And you just saw this report from the General Accountability Office, and you're now taking a dump and you're saying to myself, oh crap, right? What do I do here? Now, you're a government employee, you get a paycheck, you work 9 to 5, but you just got this big pile of stuff on your desk that someone's saying to you, hey, you're gonna have to report back to Congress and figure this thing out. Where do you get a solution from? Who do you call? We are not realizing that this guy or girl has a big problem on their hands at this point. Look at this says here. As planned, Space Force will consolidate leadership, planning, and management for some DoD space programs as appropriate and authorized. Whoa. Consolidation of leadership. What does that mean? People are going to get laid off. People are going to have to find other jobs. The U.S. Space Force was recently established as a sixth branch of the U.S. military. Space systems can be expensive to acquire and field, costing billions of dollars per year. Right? So now you're in a DoD, you're working at Space Force. This report says they're going to consolidate leadership. Hey, you're a GS, 15, 14. You're making $200,000 a year. They're talking about consolidating leadership. Unless you figure this thing out. Wouldn't you love to hear from somebody who had a potential solution? I think so. I know so. Now, again, this is space, right? So that's big, and you guys going, Eric, that's kind of like a far stretch. All right, how about this? DoD should improve oversight of property insurance and natural disaster recovery. Insurance brokers. Maybe you sell property insurance. Maybe you work for a national company that sells insurance. You're sitting here, again, this is not beta.sam stuff. This is not divs, right? So when you're looking at how do we, and I want to say something. I have to say this because one of the things that is important to me, and by the way, I'm going to put on a big screen. I want to go ahead and first of all congratulate Randy. Randy just won a $5 million contract last week, so congratulations, Randy. Out of our 200 people, we're now starting to chip away at that 200 companies winning $5 million in revenue contracts. So I want to say congratulations to Randy for that big win last week. Big thumbs up. The other thing is that, and the reason why I came onto the big screen so you can see my face is, and again, Nikki and I were talking about this morning, I really want folks to understand that if we, my mic level is looping. All right, hold on, Chief. All right. I wonder if it's probably one of my browsers where it's doing that. Let me see. All right, thank you, Chief, for that. It's echoing. Give me 1 second. Testing. Okay, I think it's this one. Testing. Okay. I think it's all right. Got it. It should be better now. Testing. Okay. That one's good. Testing I got to test all my camera views. Okay, how's it now, Nikki? Is it better? It should be better now. I think I turned off the extra mic. We good on the mic? Mic check. Okay. Yes? We're good on the mic? Yep. Yes, no. All right. I'll get back and then I'll follow the feeds as we're going. Yep. Perfect. Good. All right. So the interview that's coming up with Nicole Sharp and also Student A, and then what Nikki and I discussed today is I want folks to realize that this market, again, we talk about all of this money out here. And Nikki and I mentioned it today in our private conversation that we had, which is the fact that to pursue $5 million in contracts or a single contract or a IDIQ, IDV project, it's the same amount of paperwork that it is to pursue $5,000 or $50,000. So what we have to do is train our minds to believe it, to realize it, to understand it. And that way we're not looking at scarcity mentality, because this marketplace in the world is of abundance, and we as people are also of abundance. And so I want to say that because when we're looking at solving some of these massive problems out here, they are massive. And in fact, if you are only looking at a $50,000 solution, you're really going to have a difficult time talking to someone in the government about solving a, for example, multi-billion-dollar problem. So again, the evidence suggests that you have all of the knowledge, all of the expertise, you have all of your faculties to be able to attack these types of problems and solutions. What you need to know is the steps and the activities to do so. And so again, I'm not the guy that's going to talk to you about micro purchases. While I'm happy that my colleagues would gladly do that for you, this is not something that I do, because just like what happened with Randy last week, I put into all of you that we want to take it from 250 to $1 million and $1 million to $5 million. She won a $5 million contract, right? And so I truly believe if I was talking to her about winning a $2 million contract, then she would have won a $2 million contract. But because the goal was $5 million, that's what she had inside of her brain, and that's what she had on her vision board, and that's what she had in her mind, which was possible, and that's what she did. And so that's the same thing for all of you out here as well. And I just want to kind of say that before we continue on. All right, going back to this particular issue. So now we're at the GAO, and again, this is for everyone. I just want to pull up another example. This is insurance. We found the insurance carried by projects review covered most of the losses, but will not provide all needed recovery funding. So if you are in this space and you sell insurance, military housing privatization initiative, private developers assume responsibility for building and maintaining military family housing in the U.S. Natural disasters cause millions of dollars in damage to housing, raise questions about the financial viability of the projects. 7 recommendations to address the issues. All right, let's go in. Let me pull this up on another screen here. Look at this. They give you the text. They give you the full report. You don't have to guess. Here's a full report. Look at that. The government is doing your work for you. Tells you who's on the committee. Reports the issues. So now when you go back and you're talking to folks out here and you're trying to figure out Hurricane Florence damaged this building in 2018. All right, here's the public version of a sensitive report in 2021. Much of the business and financial information report has been omitted because it was deemed sensitive by DOD, which is fine. Property insurance carried by 3 DOD privatized housing projects. Review covered most of the natural disaster losses. However, the extent of the losses at 10 Air Force Base, Marine Corps Lejeune, other installations in North Carolina created financial challenges for the installations' respective privatized housing projects. All right. So now again, this is not something that you're going to see on beta.sam. Why? Because by the time the government acts on this stuff, by the time they go out and they go back and develop requirements, look for who they should be talking to, what agency, create a committee. Listen, someone else is already in the game. This is the opportunity for you to go out. They're telling who the people are, where they're at, who you should be talking to. This is your opportunity to explore what particular source of information you want to take when you're meeting with folks out there. So DHS exploring new methods to replace BioWatch could benefit from additional guidance, assessment of major projects. VA provides healthcare assistance to civilians as part of the federal response. States to improve quality data. Let's see. All right. Better information to states and enhance performance management. FEMA made progress in improving projects, but should identify and assess risks to recovery. Look at this. As of January 21, FEMA has obligated $23 billion to public assistance funds to help Puerto Rico recover from 2017, 2019, and 2020 hurricanes. All right, this is a reimbursement program. Puerto Rico must provide the initial funding for the projects and seek reimbursement afterwards. However, Puerto Rico's agencies have had trouble getting the initial funding to start recovery projects. Consequently, Puerto Rico has only spent $4 billion of the $23 billion. This is a massive problem. How do you make a lot of money? Solve big problems. Think about this. The government has allocated $23 billion, right, for reimbursements to help cover Puerto Rico's efforts. They've only spent $4.7 billion of the $23 billion. We recommend that FEMA identify and assess risks to the recovery, such as Puerto Rico's ability to carry out recovery projects. As of January 15, 2021, FEMA obligated $23 billion. Okay? This is a major, major, major project. Okay, this is major, right? When people are sitting here saying, Eric, what's going on with FEMA? What's going on with Puerto Rico? How do we do projects with Puerto Rico? What you're looking at, right, is the stuff off beta.sam, which is the pennies, right? You're looking at the crumbs. There are people that are watching this. There are people that are in this space of lending money. There are people in the space that can figure this thing out. I am sure that whoever's in charge over in Puerto Rico at FEMA wants to hear from you. I am sure. Forget about doing the work. How do you even access the money, right? The government's saying, hey, there's $23 billion sitting up obligated to public assistance funds to Puerto Rico. They've only accessed $4.8 billion of it. How do we get to the money? This is a major, major, major problem out there. And I'm sure there's some folks out here who can figure this thing out. Is anybody else, listen, can I say something? Is there anybody else out here amazed that this is a problem? Am I the only person out here? Is anybody else out here amazed like that this is actually a problem? Right? Like, I didn't know this existed at all. I do know people that want to work for FEMA and that people that want to do contracts with FEMA, but I had no idea that this problem even existed. Is there anybody else out there amazed at this? Like, am I the only crazy person that's sitting here saying, how is this possible? When you're trying to figure out, right, and you're looking at, and people are on the news and they're telling you, well, Puerto Rico this, Puerto Rico that, nothing's happened. Now you see what is again, at the 60,000 square foot level, you're seeing what is really happening, what's going on behind the scenes. So it's not a United States government problem. It's not a problem of money. The government has done their part. This is the way that they contract with Puerto Rico. This is the way, and in fact, I know this personally because I met with FEMA. This is seems like to me, some sort of like, I don't want to say technical glitch, but it seems like a small gap. Well, it's kind of a big gap, but a big like gap in spending the money and then getting the reimbursement for the money, and even for Puerto Rico to have the money to spend to then get reimbursed for. In fact, if we were to take this and extrapolate this, right, to where you and I are at as small businesses, right? Let's look at us, small businesses. All right, you with me? Who's on here? Chieftain. All right, my man Chieftain's on here. Tony Parsons on here. Let's take this, right, and let's look at it as you and I. We're the small businesses. We get a contract for $2 million, right, and you've got $20,000 in the bank. You don't have, like, even though the government gave you that $2 million contract, because you only have $20,000 in the bank, you can only spend $20,000 at a time and then get reimbursed. $20,000 get reimbursed. That sounds like the same thing that Puerto Rico's dealing with on a major level. Does that make sense? Like, it sounds like the exact same problem that they're dealing with at massive scale. And so how many people out here think that there's some, we always by default think someone else is solving these problems, right? We're looking at like, someone else is going to figure that part out. Just give me the scraps. When they finally figure out FEMA, right? Give me, some electrical work to do. Let me fix a couple houses. Let me cut the grass. Let me, do some debris removal. That's not the problem. That's not the issue. The issue is where is the money coming from to fund them to come back to the government? That right now, to me, seems like a $19 billion problem. If they have $23 billion obligated and $4 billion spent, that's a $19 billion problem. Anybody else agree? Like, give me a thumbs up in the chat. Like, if you're feeling me, if you're hearing me out on this stuff, let me know. I want to know people. I mean, are people paying attention to this? Let's talk about it. So more than 3 years after Hurricanes Irma and Maria struck Puerto Rico's recovery is ongoing and will be one of the largest in FEMA's history. Further complicating the recovery, Puerto Rico experienced a series of earthquakes in 2019 and 2020, and the impacts of COVID starting March 20. FEMA is the lead federal agency responsible for assisting Puerto Rico as it recovers from these disasters and administers the public assistance program in partnership with the government of Puerto Rico to provide funds to rebuild damaged infrastructure and restore services. GAO was asked to review federal recovery efforts in Puerto Rico. In this report, they examine the status of their public assistance grant program funding and projects in Puerto Rico, and to the extent which FEMA has identified and assessed potential risks to recovery. They analyzed program documents and data on public assistance program through 2021, conducted site visits, and interviewed FEMA and Puerto Rico government officials regarding the status and risks. Here's the areas that they made recommendations. What can you do to help solve this? Who can you talk to? Who do you know in this particular area? So again, this is, and there's a lot of this kind of stuff out here. I mean, there's pages and pages. Look, you can sort this by topic. You could sort it by agency. Again, I always like to tell people, let the market research guide your activities, right? So again, if you've done market research and let's say you want to work for Health and Human Services, for example, all right, let's go out and find what are the problems, what are the challenges that's with Health and Human Services. Yeah, Giant Wine, it's interesting the government saying that PR can handle it, but apparently not. No, I mean, this is from 2017 to now. Obviously, they haven't figured this thing out. And so what we're looking at is saying, okay, people always think the problem is funding. There is no shortage of funding. Our government has continued to show over decades and decades over history that they print money. So there is never a shortage of money. It's never the problem. That is not the issue, it's money. So again, I want people to understand this, because when you're out there and you're like tired and you're doing your research and you're like, man, I don't know where else I could turn to find opportunities, this is a great place. Yes, like Nikki said, make sure to click the like button. 36 people watching, 18 likes. Give us a like, a thumbs up if you like what we're talking about. Let's just go through and let's look at Health and Human Services. Here we are. And again, I've never done this, so I have no idea what I'm going to expect. We're going with it. Health and Human Services. Most homes had multiple outbreaks and weeks of sustained transmission. Centers of Disease Control, they're talking about nursing homes, commonly experiencing COVID. All this is going to probably be COVID related. All right, here's one. HHS preliminary analysis offer incomplete picture of behavioral health, demonstrates effectiveness. Okay, here's something interesting. This was published May 12th, 2021. Government efficiency and effectiveness, opportunities to reduce fragmentation, overlap, and duplication, and achieve billions in financial benefits. Let's look at this. Yeah, this doesn't look like anything useful. Okay, this is interesting. Let's take a look at this. Maternal mortality, morbidity, greater risk of maternal death. I don't like HSS. This is not my area. This is too, yeah, sorry. I don't like HHS. I'm getting out of here. I don't like that one. Let's look at Bureau of Prisons. By the way, if you have any questions for me, drop it in the chat. I'm monitoring the chat. If you have any questions, drop it in the chat. We're going to probably close out at 7 on the dot. I just want to come in and show this because I thought, by the way, if you're just joining us, what we start off was looking at the recent pipeline attack. And we only used the pipeline attack as an example of where the government had previously been made aware that the possibility existed in May of 2019 through the Government Accountability Office issuing a scathing report on TSA's performance in that role. And then we went into that report where the government highlighted in 2019 critical infrastructure protection actions needed to address weaknesses. And what I suspect happened, they did put together a pipeline, like here it is, a committee, right? Pipeline LMG, Facility Cybersecurity Preparedness Act. They were working on this committee. And here, the FBI issued a statement where they were uncompromised colonial pipeline attacks. This was aware. So the government had previous and prior knowledge of this information. However, and they did work on a committee of putting something together to address it. But it looks like here they had one meeting. So it looks like they had one meeting and they didn't do anything beyond that. Going backwards, one of the things that we discussed over this last 45 minutes is how we as small businesses, and we're working with, again, we're setting up briefings, we're talking to people in the government, and we're looking at opportunities for ourselves. One of the ways in which we can do that is by following the Government Accountability Office and its reporting. So here, I'm just showing examples of how I'm just browsing through the site. And again, there's start dates, end dates. They can do it by topic. You can do it by agency. And then they have a search box. How there are, these are reasons to have conversations with certain bureaus, certain agencies about solutions that you have, solutions that you can provide. For example, Brian, you put into the chat your particular, the charging stations, right? Now, if you found a GAO report that listed charging stations as an area of interest, that's probably already made it to someone's desk. So you talk about electric charging facilities. That's something that, again, we know that and we did this on the last session. I don't think it would be here because there hasn't, but again, I don't know. You'd have to look it up. So again, moving us forward to where we're at today in the conversation, when we're meeting with the government, we're meeting with agencies, and we're talking to people out there, this is the kind of information that we want to have at our disposal. This is how we get into the room. This is how we get bumped up to higher levels of federal humans. This is how we get bumped up to people who are responsible for coming up with solutions. And we take it for granted, or we assume that they have all the answers, and they don't. They're people just like us. Like I said earlier, some people are sitting here quaking, and they're like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Right? They don't have the solution. Someone put this on their desk, and now their job is to figure out, how do I solve this problem? And I'm telling you, the same way that Randy keeps receiving contracts, Maria was receiving contracts, I'm receiving contracts. Once you're in with the government and you're in with this agency, they're going to call you back time and time again. And so what we want to do is we want to become a solution provider. We want to become an added resource provider to them, a problem solver, and this is the way we do it. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so, I'm looking at this report, and as I can imagine, it must be very troubling for you guys, but we have a potential solution, right? You're talking with a small business person, you're saying, hey, you're looking at items in the forecast list, but this is one other thing to look at. Hey, were you aware that this is happening out here? Our team, for the last 5 years, have developed solutions that address these problems. We are in contact with someone who's done this dozens of times. Would you like to hear from me? Would you like to hear about it? Would you like more information? How do we go about talking to the senior person who's responsible for fixing this? Does that make sense? Yes? All right. So someone asked a question. This is why the small business goal is more difficult than many outsiders believe. That's true. Um, someone says the lobbyists will make money on this. Someone's going to make money on this. I don't know who it's going to be. Great. Welcome, King Love. Philip Evans. Yes, this is mind-blowing. Good stuff. I'm new to government contracting space. What's the average turnaround to find out if you won a bid or not? I can tell you this. So the question, I want to say it slowly. It says, I'm new to government contracting space. What's the average time to find out if you want a bid or not? If your concern, right, is about winning one bid or not, that means you're not doing the activities. I'm going to repeat this again. If you are concerned about one bid, that means you're not doing the activities. Why? Because I go out and each week I create dozens of opportunities for ourselves. In fact, when I submit a bid, when I put in an RFP, when I submit a source of SOP, I just keep working. I don't even continue to think about that anymore. I continue working and continue to produce output, continue to keep dropping my lines in the water. And as I'm responding to more things, as I'm qualifying opportunities, as I'm making relationships with partners, as I'm putting in things as a teaming partners, we just continue doing the work. And then if and when that opportunity comes around, we're like, oh, we got that. We won that one also. And guess what? We keep doing the work. So to answer your question, Kostani, the fact is that if you are concentrating and all your effort spent on one bid, that means you're not doing enough activities. And you should be doing more activities to align yourself with more opportunities for more contract awards so that your focus and your time is not spent thinking about one bid. You should be partnering and working with people in a groups collectively so that you can be pursuing multiple opportunities with multiple teaming partners, right, across the board. And then that way, right, because again, the government is really like hurry up and wait. So there's been times where it's taken me a year to get a contract. There's been times where it's taken me a month. There's sometimes taken 6 months. So you have to keep putting in the work. You can't stop for one opportunity. You can't stop for one response because you will continue to, like if you do that and you do one at a time, you're never going to do what we're talking about. You're never going to get to the $1 million and the $5 million level like so many of us are aspiring to do and are working our way towards. You have to continue putting in the work. You have to continue grinding. You have to continue chipping away at this. You have to continue doing your capture. You got to continue doing BD. You got to continue doing your networking. You got to continue attending events. You have to continue doing all the stuff that's going to lead to, right, multiple opportunities for yourself. So I just want to say that because that is a commonly asked question, and I thank you for asking that question because so many people do that all the time. They're like, Eric, man, I put this bid in and I'm sitting around and waiting. Sit around waiting for what? Work on some other stuff. Continue working through this because that way, if you continue working through this, then you're going to create multiple opportunities for yourself. And then and if the government falls short, because you know what sometimes happens? Sometimes they win a bid, or sometimes they may not have the funding, so they actually don't do the project because they didn't have funding. So now you could have been the lowest bidder, you could have been the most qualified bidder, but if the government didn't have the funding, they didn't issue the project. Now what are you doing? You're stuck back working on the next thing. So, what else? What else out there? Yes, Candy Enterprise, stay organized so you know who's calling you about what, and you can track your progress. If I enroll Gov Con Giants, who would I be working with? Well, you'd be working with all the other students out here. We meet 4 times a month, every Tuesday. And so you have an opportunity to work with people that are like-minded. And once a month, we break out into sessions based on your industry. So you'd work with all of the people on here, Chieftain, Nikki, they're all in the group, Adele, Giant Hawaiian, all these people that, not all of them, but many of them are already in the group. Jesse Forte's there. So you get a chance to work with and network with all these great people offline in our private sessions. And then, of course, I'm there leading the charge. So questions about GAO, pipeline, anything else before we close out today? I just thought this would be a great session. In fact, it was good. I'm happy that I came on, and I could tell, I'm happy that people were able to see this. And that FEMA thing was pretty remarkable, right? I mean, that blew my mind. That just blew my mind. What else? What else, folks? Anything else? We're kicking butt out here. All of my GovCon EDU students, tomorrow's session is advanced session. So we're going to talk about some really good stuff tomorrow. All right? We're good? All hearts are cleared? We got off our sole source our first week out, but we couldn't take the sole source because our EIN wasn't old enough. Canty Enterprises. That's why I tell people, right? One of the things I tell you in my beginner's class is to register your LLC. Even before you've made the commitment to do this, register your LLC. In fact, Nicole Sharp, who will be on the podcast in a couple weeks, Nicole had her business for 5 years. She didn't actually start the business until a few years ago, but she got registered. Why? Because when you go back, she had that history that's required, that's needed. So, Mark, no, tomorrow's session is going to be on Zoom call. That's for the 2.0. So remember this, 1.0 students, we meet once a month. The 2.0 students, we meet 4 times a month. So that's the difference is that 1.0 is 1 time a month, and the 2.0 we meet 4 times a month. Andrew, I have not thought about the topic yet. I think we're going to talk about teaming and joint ventures, though. Wow, Canny. You know what, though, Canny Enterprises? You could have reached out to me and reached out to one of us on here, and we could have helped you out with that opportunity. Listen, I don't want anyone out here turning down contract opportunities. No one. Please don't do that. I don't want any of you out turning down contract opportunities. Reach out to us. Reach out to the community. Because, listen, did everyone hear about the construction opportunities in New Jersey? We're looking for people. Thank you for all who responded. We were looking for folks out in New Jersey. This past week, Randy had 4 more opportunities. Yes, the 2.0 will get the email with the Zoom link. That's correct. Erica will be sending that out tomorrow, the 2.0. So Erica will send out the Zoom link tomorrow for the session with the email. All right. We're good? Yeah, no, Canny, there's definitely, yes, there's definitely more opportunities. No harm, no foul. Great learning experience for you. So don't worry, it's good. But I would not turn down any more contract opportunities. I can tell you that. In fact, funny story, a few years ago, Randy was in the same position where she was working with a consultant. She was working as a consultant with a client, and they were turning down all the opportunities that she brought to them. And she came to me with this problem. Eric, I'm having the federal agencies that want to give me contracts, but they're in different states, they're different sizes, and my client doesn't want to do them. And I said to her, Randy, you do them. Well, how do I do that? Easy. It's your relationship. You gave them first right of refusal. They didn't want it. So now you figure out how to do it. Well, Eric, how do I do a contract in California? Call me. She called me. We talked on the phone. We found someone. We did it. Since that time, she's done 5 contracts in different states, and she's working on 4 more. And she picked up IDIQ this past week and a $5 million single award to her client. So there's ways to do this. If you are out there and you're building relationships with agencies, then there's definitely different ways to do it. King Love, we talk about how to become a contractor and also how to become a consultant. We have a mix of people who are contractors at the prime and subcontract level, and then we have folks that want to be consultants. So we've got a mix of both. HVAC, Jerome, Nikki, are you still on here? Tell Jerome Hurd about all of the HVAC opportunities that we discussed today. There's so many HVAC opportunities that it is mind-blowing. All of the state contracts and local contracts, Jerome, they're looking for HVAC people so much that they can't keep up. So if you're an HVAC, in fact, in our group, Rochelle, she does HVAC, and I think her first contract was around $600,000 to $800,000. What else? What else? All right, guys. Hey, listen, thank you so much for watching. If this information was beneficial, definitely give us a thumbs up. Share this with other people. Let me tell you something, what happens when you start sharing this information with folks. People start to ask you questions. They start to realize that you are spending the time, you're investing the time in learning this information. And so that must make you knowledgeable, which it does because you are investing your time in this information. So share this information with folks out there because why? They are going to find you as the expert. They're going to come in and consult with you, and they're going to share with you what are some of the areas in which they can help, support in some kind of way. So again, make sure to share this information with folks out there. You have no idea how many contacts that I've come across from my people just sharing the information, just telling other people about. They come and say, hey, Brian, I didn't know you did that. Hey, Nicole, I didn't know that you did this or that. And so you can find new relationships and start creating new opportunities for yourself and for others. Thank you so much. As always, talk to you soon. And all you GovCon 2.0 students, 1.0,